Ever since Australia became its own independent nation, the Parliament has been and still is at the very heart of the Australian national government. Australia has long been known as the constitutional monarchy and parliamentary democracy, and while the Australian government may appear sound on paper, it is not difficult to identify areas that require improvement. To lose one prime minister may be misfortune, to lose two may indicate carelessness, but to cycle through four prime ministers in 4 years and be on the brink of yet another defenestration of a sitting prime minister suggests something more profound, a structural flaw at the heart of Australian politics. There are several easy targets to blame for Australia's newfound fondness for political instability. There is the relentless and unforgiving poll-driven media cycle and its class of political journalists, forever fueling leadership stories and predisposed to analyzing politics as a football match, calling the game without any reference to the substance, merit, or contest of competing ideas. Take this ad for example. The ad depicts a young white toddler accompanied by the simple yet dominant phrase of, "I want my mum and dad." The political advertisement was created as an opposition against the Labour Party and one of its candidates for Prime Minister. Bias is plentiful within the advertisement and can be found in many different forms. To begin with, the previous advertisement focuses the audience's attention towards a young white child that appears to be lugubrious and perhaps even neglected. There is potential bias towards the white child as a minority child might evoke different emotions about the topic. The creators wish to convey that the Labour Party's plans to enact same-sex marriage will have brutal consequences for many children across the continent. The ad also plays to the stereotype that only a man and a woman can successfully raise a child or act as a sufficient mother or father. This shows direct bias against homosexual couples who, it is implied, could not act as a mom and dad. Moreover, the ad invokes a conservative mindset that intends to exclude non-traditional families from the norm. Another liberal ad relates Labour politics to communism. The green hammer and sickle relates the ABC to communism to the Green Party, with negative connotations being implied towards all three. The bias is that Greens equal communist, which equals bad, which is not us. The phrase RABC suggests that we, the Australian Liberals, are neither green nor communist, and therefore not bad. Aside from the media, another part of the problem is that the Prime Minister of the day holds no direct mandate from the Australian public. The public sees the Prime Minister as its own property, voted into office by it at the election. Hence the outrage when a sitting Prime Minister is dumped without having faced or lost an election, which is now the normal means of transfer of power in Australian politics. And it is here that a misunderstanding among the public takes place. People don't understand why this can happen. But our constitutional system means that the Prime Minister is simply the first among equals, the holder of an office which is bestowed, and can be removed by his or her political party. Another part of the problem is Australia's donations and disclosure system. It is more than feeble, it's a joke, and it needs root and branch reform. We need more public funding for elections to remove some of the pressure on political parties to relentlessly chase the corporate dollar. If we believe in democracy, we need to believe in it enough to invest in it. And the final problem is that the term of the federal parliament is both short and not fixed in duration. With only 3-year terms, Australia is almost unique amongst liberal democracies. In Canada and Germany, they have 4-year fixed terms. The UK has 5-year fixed terms, as does France. But in Australia, an election is always just around the corner, meaning members of parliament are forever focused on their electoral survival and less so on the national interest. Each of these factors bears some of the blame for the situation we find ourselves in today. Most are out of our control, the product of changing times and changing norms. But one element stands out as susceptible to reform, and that is the political system itself. Australia's current constitutional system did not proceed from any grand design. In actuality, our whole system of government largely imported the Westminster model. There were not the ferocious arguments about how to construct good government in a republic and avoid a tyranny of the majority. Instead, Australia's constitutional evolution was incremental rather than revolutionary. Australia has always been a pragmatic nation. When national circumstance or values have changed, we have been prepared to update our constitutional arrangements accordingly. During the Second World War, we allowed the federal government to assume sole authority to levy income tax, recognizing that a secure revenue base for the federal government was instrumental to the war effort. In 1967, we amended the Constitution to grant full and proper rights and recognition to Australia's Indigenous population. Racked as our current system is by instability, to the detriment of good government, we should be prepared today to make similarly far-reaching changes. Successfully amending the constitution in Australia is no small feat, and it should not be undertaken lightly. But our politicians, by proving themselves so willing to depose sitting prime ministers without reference to the electorate, have shattered our norm on which much of the stability of the Australian political system rested. Perhaps it is up to us, the voting public, to repair this damage. And it is more than clear that the people want change. Catherine Murphy, Guardian Australia's political editor, expressed her discontent when she said, Australia's political donation system is a joke. It's time parties put people before tribe. Yet she is the first of many. Rachel Mackenzie, former journalist for a leading Sydney radio station, has stated the following. I'd like to see more stability in the leadership teams within Australia. I feel that Australia hasn't had a truly great leader for many years and that it appears to be all about the politics and not the people. If Australia wants to see itself as truly the lucky country, then it needs to be run by men or women of dignity, respect, and intelligence. These are just two of the millions of Australian citizens that want change, and we must not ignore them. Neither directly elected head of government nor longer parliamentary terms, both options which warrant serious examination, are unusual for liberal democracies. If Australia is up to the challenge, then a solution is possible. We need to change the political system so that the Prime Ministers are directly elected by the people and change the ability for parties to remove their candidate. We need the Australian Electoral Commission to be given the legal authority and the budget to police and regulate the electoral system, not just act as an inbox for political parties lodging disclosures eons after the fact. And we need to fight for longer fixed terms. If this is achieved, I believe Australia can and will be great once again.